Most hated and most loved superhero actors. In the superhero world, not everyone who puts on a suit or cape is praised by the audience. There are actors who transform into immortal icons, becoming the childhood and inspiration of millions of fans. But there are also names that are criticized badly, and even become black spots in an entire cinematic universe. So who are the most loved actors, and who are the names that make fans hate? Let's find the answer in today's video. The most hated superhero actors. Right from the announcement, the choice of Topher Grace, an actor familiar to audiences through lighthearted sitcoms, to play the villain Venom in Spider-Man 3 caused a lot of controversy, because in the original comic, Venom is a giant, muscular, aggressive creature that spreads fear. That image is completely opposite to Topher Grace's skinny appearance and friendly face. When the movie was officially released, the initial concerns quickly became reality. The lack of strength in appearance, the voice that did not create a threat, along with the way of expressing the evil, all made this version of Venom become bland, even being judged as harmless rather than scary. Not only stopping at the acting, the character design and special effects also made Venom lose its inherent majesty. The transformation scenes between Eddie Brock and Venom often look awkward and half-hearted, making the audience feel more uncomfortable than attracted. Instead of exuding fear, Venom in the movie sometimes creates a feeling of awkwardness and lack of breakthrough. Another important problem lies in the script of Spider-Man 3. The movie tries to put too many villains at the same time, from Sandman, New Goblin to Venom, making the plot confusing and unfocused. Venom, who was expected to be the trump card, only appeared quite late, lacked acting space, and was not fully exploited. As a result, this character did not create a strong impression as expected. Many opinions say that Topher Grace is just a link in the complicated chain of problems of the movie, and the fault does not entirely lie with him, but comes from the way the script is built, the acting direction, and the production direction. Therefore, Venom's failure in Spider-Man 3 does not simply come from the choice of actors. This is essentially the result of a series of poor decisions, from the casting, character design, to the arrangement and development of the script. That is why this version of Venom is often mentioned as one of the most disappointing adaptations of superhero cinema. Lex Luthor is one of the most iconic villains in comic book history, portrayed as a cold, ruthless genius with immense intellectual and financial power. This character has long been associated with the image of a majestic boss, always making Superman wary. Therefore, when Jesse Eisenberg was cast as Lex Luthor in Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice in 2016, the audience was extremely curious, mixed with skepticism. Eisenberg is famous for his eccentric and energetic roles, but is completely unfamiliar with the calm, dangerous, and authoritative image that is the core of Lex Luthor. When the movie was released, those worries were quickly confirmed. Eisenberg's version of Lex Luthor speaks too fast, gestures strangely, behaves erratically, and sometimes even resembles the Joker more than a scheming villain. This choice of portrayal makes the character lose its inherent danger, and at the same time breaks the familiar image of fans of Superman's archenemy. Instead of exuding the aura of a ruthless genius, Luthor in the film gives a feeling of ridiculousness, unbelievable, and lacking in dignity. Many audiences and critics consider this one of the most serious mistakes of the DC cinematic universe. Lex Luthor, who is supposed to be the central and iconic villain, is turned into an incomprehensible image, lacking both depth and necessary threat. To this day, this role of Jesse Eisenberg is often recalled as an unforgivable scar, contributing to making Batman vs. Superman a controversial film in the history of superhero cinema. Lex Luthor is one of the most iconic villains in comic book history, portrayed as a cold, ruthless genius with immense intellectual and financial power. This character has long been associated with the image of a majestic boss, always making Superman wary. Therefore, when Jesse Eisenberg was cast as Lex Luthor in Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice in 2016, the audience was extremely curious, mixed with skepticism. Eisenberg is famous for his eccentric and energetic roles, but is completely unfamiliar with the calm, dangerous, and authoritative image that is the core of Lex Luthor. When the movie was released, those worries were quickly confirmed. Eisenberg's version of Lex Luthor speaks too fast, gestures strangely, behaves erratically, and sometimes even resembles the Joker more than a scheming villain. This choice of portrayal makes the character lose its inherent danger and at the same time breaks the familiar image of fans of Superman's archenemy. Instead of exuding the aura of a ruthless genius, Luthor in the film gives a feeling of ridiculousness, unbelievable, and lacking in dignity. Many audiences and critics consider this one of the most serious mistakes of the DC cinematic universe. Lex Luthor, who is supposed to be the central and iconic villain, is turned into an incomprehensible image, lacking both depth and necessary threat. To this day, this role of Jesse Eisenberg is often recalled as an unforgivable scar, contributing to making Batman vs. Superman a controversial film in the history of superhero cinema. After Heath Ledger's legendary performance in The Dark Knight, anyone taking on the role of Joker would face enormous pressure. When Oscar-winning actor Jared Leto was announced to play the role in Suicide Squad 2016, audiences expected him to bring a new, different look while still maintaining the character's ghostly spirit. However, that expectation quickly turned into deep disappointment. This time, Joker's image was designed with shiny blue hair, pale skin covered in tattoos, and a flamboyant gangster style. This choice caused a strong wave of protest because it broke almost everything the audience was familiar with: a mysterious, scary, and haunting Joker. Instead of exuding a ghostly aura, this version was considered ridiculous, colorful, and lacking in depth. Not only was the appearance controversial, Jared Leto's acting also made viewers uncomfortable. He chose a flamboyant style of performance, with many strange gestures and exaggerated dialogue, making many scenes awkward, even offensive. Instead of bringing a new but memorable Joker, Leto made the character a shadow of the previous versions. It is worth mentioning that Jared Leto is not a less talented actor. With a career marked by an Oscar, he inherently possesses excellent acting ability. However, in the case of Joker, both the character design and the direction of the film prevented that talent from shining. As a result, Jared Leto's Joker is often referred to as a failed experiment, a testament to the fact that not all innovations are accepted by the audience, especially when touching on a symbol that is too big in popular culture. When Gal Gadot first appeared as Wonder Woman in Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, and then had her own movie in 2017, she quickly became the first iconic female hero of the DC cinematic universe to have a resounding success. Her strong, beautiful image and inspirational message turned Gal Gadot into a box office goddess and made many audiences see her as the perfect embodiment of Diana Prince. However, as time went on, Gal Gadot's acting limitations became more and more obvious. Many opinions said that despite her attractive appearance, her slim figure, expressionless face, and awkward acting style made her Wonder Woman lack the majesty, weight, and charisma of a true Amazon warrior. The character, which was expected to be an invincible female warrior, sometimes looked unconvincing on screen. The disappointment grew when Wonder Woman 1984 failed to meet expectations, both in terms of revenue and content, causing Gal Gadot's halo to quickly fade. From being hailed as a typical face of feminism in superhero cinema, she gradually became a controversial name. In the eyes of many audiences, Gal Gadot could not elevate the character of Wonder Woman, but on the contrary, her limitations made this image lose some of its inherent appeal. Therefore, Gal Gadot is often mentioned as a typical example of an actor who can make a strong impression at the beginning, but if there is a lack of progress in acting and investment from the script, that character will find it difficult to maintain a long-term position in the hearts of the audience. Most beloved superhero actors, few people would have expected that Robert Downey Jr., a star who had been plagued by scandals and years of scandal, could revive his brilliant career thanks to the role of Tony Stark in Iron Man, 2008. At that time, Iron Man was not a prominent character in Marvel Comics and was even quite unfamiliar to most of the general audience. However, it was the arrogant and witty demeanor, the intelligence and emotional moments that Robert Downey Jr. brought that turned Tony Stark into a cinematic icon. What is special is that the way he plays the role almost blends with his real-life self. Robert Downey Jr. has experienced many ups and downs, from the halo to the abyss, and those experiences helped him portray a Tony Stark who is both proud and full of inner wounds. Thanks to that, Iron Man is not only an armored superhero, but also a close, genuine, and sympathetic person. This success not only saved Robert Downey Jr.'s career, but also opened a new era for superhero cinema. Iron Man became the central character, a solid foundation for Marvel to build the powerful MCU cinematic universe later. The audience's affection for the character was so strong that many people affirmed, without Robert Downey Jr., there would be no Iron Man, and there would be no MCU like today. The role of Tony Stark is the perfect proof that a casting choice can change both the fate of an actor and the future of an entire film franchise. Most beloved superhero actors, few people would have expected that Robert Downey Jr., a star who had been plagued by scandals and years of scandal, could revive his brilliant career thanks to the role of Tony Stark in Iron Man 2008. At that time, Iron Man was not a prominent character in Marvel Comics, and was even quite unfamiliar to most of the general audience. However, it was the arrogant and witty demeanor, the intelligence and emotional moments that Robert Downey Jr. brought that turned Tony Stark into a cinematic icon. What is special is that the way he plays the role almost blends with his real-life self. Robert Downey Jr. has experienced many ups and downs, from the halo to the abyss, and those experiences helped him portray a Tony Stark who is both proud and full of inner wounds. Thanks to that, Iron Man is not only an armored superhero, but also a close, genuine, and sympathetic person. This success not only saved Robert Downey Jr.'s career, but also opened a new era for superhero cinema. Iron Man became the central character, a solid foundation for Marvel to build the powerful MCU cinematic universe later. The audience's affection for the character was so strong that many people affirmed, without Robert Downey Jr., there would be no Iron Man, and there would be no MCU like today. The role of Tony Stark is the perfect proof that a casting choice can change both the fate of an actor and the future of an entire film franchise. Before audiences knew Andrew Garfield or Tom Holland, Tobey Maguire was the childhood Spider-Man of a generation. When Spider-Man 2002 was released, Tobey's portrayal of Peter Parker immediately captivated the public. A naive, kind, introverted boy who always struggled to balance his everyday life with the heavy responsibilities of a superhero. It was this clumsiness but sincerity that made the character so relatable, and every victory and every failure of Peter Parker touched the hearts of viewers. The Spider-Man trilogy, directed by Sam Raimi, was not only a huge box office success, but also played a particularly important role in shaping the modern superhero genre. Previously, this genre was not really taken seriously, but thanks to the success of Tobey Maguire and his team, Spider-Man has become proof that comic book characters can create emotional, entertaining, and meaningful cinematic works. The precious thing is that even though there have been many generations of Spider-Man since then, Tobey Maguire still holds an irreplaceable position in the hearts of fans. For many audiences, he is the first Spider-Man model, an icon associated with childhood, and the reason why they love the superhero movie genre. Tobey's return in Spider-Man: No Way Home in 2021 further proves that strong affection, when the whole theater burst into tears at seeing a part of their childhood memories again. Therefore, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is not only a successful role, but also an important milestone, laying the foundation for the entire superhero cinematic universe later. Few actors have had as long and deep a connection to a superhero as Hugh Jackman has had with Wolverine. When Jackman first appeared in X-Men in 2000, many doubted his ability to take on the role. Too tall, too cool for the comic book Wolverine, and still a relatively unknown actor in the action film genre. But from the moment he appeared on screen, all doubts quickly disappeared. Jackman brought a thorny, fierce, mutant image, but at the same time hidden pain, loneliness, and deep inner conflicts, a version of Wolverine that was both ferocious and humane that fans had never seen. Jackman skillfully expressed the conflict between wild instincts and human intelligence, between explosive anger and the desire to find meaning in life. He perfectly balanced the eye-catching fight scenes, where Wolverine was brutal and powerful, with the quiet, painful, emotional moments. In Logan 2017, Jackman took the role to a new level. Wolverine matures, faces old age, loss, and the inevitable end of his superhero journey. His subtlety in acting makes the character real, close but still full of weight, so that the audience sympathizes with his difficulties and choices. Over nearly 2 decades, Jackman has not only maintained his form, but also turned Wolverine into an immortal icon of the superhero film genre. Each film he participates in is enhanced by the psychological depth he brings to the character. Audiences and fans have gradually identified Wolverine with Hugh Jackman, to the point that the role has become an inseparable part of his personal image and career. This role is a clear testament to the power of choosing the right actor. One person can shape both the fate of the character and the film franchise for many years. Hugh Jackman is more than just Wolverine. He is the living icon, the soul, and the benchmark for all future superhero actors to look up to. Christian Bale created a version of Batman that was completely different from previous versions, marking a turning point in the history of superhero cinema. Before Bale appeared, the image of Batman had gone through many experiments, from the humorous, colorful version of Joel Schumacher to the dark but shallow efforts that had not really convinced modern audiences. When Christopher Nolan chose Bale to play Bruce Wayne, many fans and experts were initially skeptical. He was not a famous action star, but was known mainly for his serious, versatile roles. This was a risky choice, but it was the combination of Bale's acting talent and Nolan's vision that created magic. Bale played the role perfectly, turning Bruce Wayne into not just a masked billionaire fighting crime, but also a symbol of pain, resilience, and indomitable spirit. He clearly portrayed the character's inner contradictions. By day, he is a normal, wounded man, burdened by the past. By night, he is a mysterious warrior, ready to face crime and injustice. Bale's immersive performance helps the audience feel both Batman's intelligence, strength, and deep loneliness, making the character both relatable and symbolic. What is most impressive is that Bale balances two seemingly opposing aspects: Batman's majesty and fear with Bruce Wayne's emotion and humanity. In Batman Begins, he subtly expressed pain, loss, and determination, allowing the audience to empathize with the character's fear and resilience. In The Dark Knight, Bale not only provides a backdrop for the Joker's Heath Ledger outburst, but also keeps the backbone of the entire plot. Moral struggles, sacrifice, and responsibility come alive and convincing thanks to his subtle performance. Even in The Dark Knight Rises, when Batman faces defeat and destruction, Bale still shows the psychological weight, so that Bruce Wayne's ending is both tragic and complete, showing that the character is not only a superhero, but also a real person. Thanks to Christian Bale, the Dark Knight trilogy is not only a commercial success, but also a new standard for superhero movies. From the way the villain is built, the plot, to the dark, serious but emotional tone of the film. This role proves that the right choice of actor, combined with the director's skillful guidance, can elevate an entire film franchise and change the way audiences perceive superheroes. Batman in Bale's hands becomes an image that is both iconic and realistic, both scary and humane, a perfect testament to the power of immersive acting in shaping an entire cinematic universe. Ryan Reynolds and Deadpool were almost made for each other. Before landing this role, Reynolds had a bumpy career. He was once expected to become an A-list action comedy star, but was mostly boxed in average romantic movies, leaving little mark. The disastrous failure of Green Lantern 2011 also caused Reynolds' name to plummet, making critics and audiences doubt whether he was capable of sticking with the superhero movie genre. There was a time when his career seemed impossible to revive, and Reynolds himself admitted that he was almost desperate with script choices. But it was Deadpool, a character that was once not very prominent in the Marvel Universe, that opened up a historic turning point. Few people know that Reynolds had persistently campaigned for many years to get the Deadpool project greenlit. He was involved in every step, from building ideas, testing the demo, to fighting with the studio to keep the R-rated style, instead of editing it into a safe work like the familiar superhero formula. That perseverance helped Deadpool maintain its identity, a sassy, talkative character, often breaking the fourth wall to talk, even mocking the studio and Hollywood itself. What makes Reynolds' transformation special is the fusion between actor and character. He not only plays Deadpool, but seems to live with Deadpool. Reynolds' inherent wit, humor, ability to improvise, and self-mockery made the character come alive and irresistibly charming. Viewers no longer see Ryan Reynolds playing Wade Wilson, but see Wade Wilson as Ryan Reynolds in real life. This is a rare type of connection in cinema history, similar to Robert Downey Jr. with Iron Man or Hugh Jackman with Wolverine, roles that are almost irreplaceable. Not only stopping at personal performances, Deadpool also created a cultural shock. The film broke all stereotypes about the superhero genre. Violent, bloody, full of satire, but extremely entertaining. Instead of following the safe formula, Deadpool proved that adult audiences also crave something different, rebellious and daring to challenge the norm. The box office success far exceeded expectations, with revenue of hundreds of millions of dollars, turned Deadpool from a little-known character into a global film brand. For Reynolds, Deadpool not only saved a career that was on the brink of extinction, but also brought him to the ranks of the most powerful stars in Hollywood. He became the face of a new type of hero, carefree, humorous, sometimes vulgar, but extremely close to the public. Deadpool is therefore not just a movie, but a living proof that choosing the right actor can change the fate of an entire character and the entire film franchise behind it. It can be seen that in the superhero world, the line between monument and disaster is sometimes very fragile. A successful role can turn an actor into an immortal icon, but just one wrong choice is enough to turn the audience away. Whether loved or criticized, they all leave their own mark in the history of cinema. What about you? Who is your favorite superhero actor, and who disappoints you the most? Leave your opinion in the comment section, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss the next videos.